So the film we're talking about now is Enola, Holmes 2 on Netflix. So, guys, did you like the film?
I feel like if I was 12 years old, maybe if I was 10, and then like, you know, back in the day when everyone used to go cinema for the birthday and used to get all your friends come cinema. If I was like 9 and I was with all my friends at the cinema, like, ooh, Enola Holmes, but like it was a bit too kiddie for me. Like, you know, like, and I there were a lot of things that I rated about the film. Like, I like the fact it's a strong female character. We've not really seen many female detective films before. You know what I mean? And it actually made Millie Bobby Brown more likable, which is quite difficult for me. I know you're a bit of you like Millie Bobby Brown, but I was like, oh, she's actually not bad. She's quite a good actress. So like, it was a strong female character, and even at the end, there was that lady, I can't remember her name, the black woman. She did a really good speech. It was like, because he was like, oh, how could you kind of betray us? And she was like, look, I'm a black woman.
Maury Troy, I think.
Yeah, I'm a black woman. I don't know when did the film set, in the early 1900s maybe?
Yes,
yeah. Like, how else am I supposed to get into a position of power without betraying you guys? Because you underestimate me, you don't give me any opportunity, so I had to do this, you know what I mean? And so there are a lot of strong female characters in the film, which I liked, but it was very childlike, you know what I mean? And also, like, for me, and this is just a personal thing, this isn't a criticism of the film, I'm not the biggest fan of like olden Oliver Twist days type thing. I don't know, I feel like
the people who lived in those days were either, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm just like, I don't find it, that the whole Downton Abbey
like
kind
a period piece.
I just don't, it doesn't really appeal to me too much, you know what I mean? I feel like I've seen it all kind of thing. I don't think there's that much more you can do with it. But really strong female characters, which I liked. The plot was quite good, and yeah, that's my response.
I quite liked it. I thought, it was obviously like a bit tongue in cheek, aimed at a diverse audience in terms of age. But I thought it was good. I thought it was quite a fun watch, quite like obviously not a too in depth watch, but they did cover some, as you say, some interesting topics like feminism, obviously like the working situation back in the day. I think the second film, in my opinion, was better than the first in terms of doing that, because the first one was obviously just trying to establish like the storyline and who the characters were, whereas I thought this one was better in the fact that it covered like obviously working women. There was a lot of feminist issues sort of raised, and I liked the fact that, as you say, most of the main characters in it, other than Sherlock Holmes himself, were women, and it showed them being like strong. If it is for a younger audience as well, I think that's really important to do.
I quite liked it. I thought it was like around like a 7.5 out of 10 for me. I like you. I thought it was better than the first one. I really liked how the female characters were kind of like they all had like an important role and they all kind of shone, and it was better than the first one, I guess. In that sense, I quite like the crime mystery stuff. That sort of appeals to me. I quite like the tongue-in-cheek element. I kind of wish they leaned into it a bit more, kind of a bit more winks to the camera. I quite like that. But no, I definitely like this genre. It is a bit kiddie, but I guess that's just the audience that it wants.
Of course.
I feel like Millie Bobby Brown's audience is from Stranger Things.
Yes.
Because obviously they're kind of growing up with her.
Because
obviously Stranger Things is for, again, a diverse audience in terms of age, but a lot of people watched it as kids, and then now they're growing up, and they're kind of
myself.
So it's kind of growing up with that age, and I think it's kind of more at like a teenage or young adult.
Yes. What I do like about the film is you could probably view the film as more like an installment. Like first installment, second installment, like really long episodes instead of like a film. Because the way the first film and the second film actually link together is actually very, very good. Like they definitely, I think, filming it and writing it, have written it as a trilogy.
Right. Okay.
You know, because at the end of this one, it was definitely setting it up for like another film with like Moriarty. And the first film was the exact same as well. The story didn't end with a finish. There was like, here's another bit for the mystery, a bit like a serialized kind of like Victorian way of storytelling. I think Millie Bobby Brown has that like star quality, and I think this kind of from Stranger Things, you were like, oh, maybe it's the shaved head, like maybe it's the emotional role of that, like the superpowers and all that. But with this, I was like, wow, she actually can act, and she's very
confident.
She's impressed me that she could play, because I think in this film, what's really interesting is for all the feminism and all that, I think it's like probably like post third wave and all this, but it's like very romantic still. So much like a love story between her and like Tewksbury, yeah, which I didn't like his name either, by the way, in the film. But I find it interesting that, you know, the film was, in a way, even though she's like 11, no, she's 18, but it was like this, there's a subtle theme of her choosing between like career and marriage towards that, you know, like she wants to actually go with him, fall in love with him and just be like a countess, which is fair enough, and then actually have a detective career. So I'm kind of just hoping for a third film like Millie Bobby Brown's Enola has it all, you know, like a marriage and a career.
I quite liked how she was kind of allowed to have that kind of love story. Like in the first one, she was very like, oh, got to stay independent. I can't really be distracted by boys. And I quite like how this one, she kind of lead into it, and she was also like almost given permission by her mother, like, you know, you can pursue this. So I quite like how they leaned into that, and she was given free rein to kind of be independent, but also know that you can
have that like emotional love story at the same time.
She kind of always chose her career though, which I liked.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I mean, that's important. I'm not gonna lie. In relationships, love life, you should always choose. You should always put yourself first. You know what I mean? It wasn't like she was like, oh, here's this really attractive boy. Sack my career. I'm gonna go be a a housewife. She like there was a bit where he's like, I love you, and she's like, yeah, I love you too, but I got stuff to do. You know what I mean? And I liked that. It was interesting. You say there was that dilemma, but she always chose the career, which I think is a positive role model. Because I think people should. Maybe people might say, no, you should focus on your partner, but I think you should always put yourself first.
I think about her career though, like obviously it's really good because she's putting her career first and like before her love life, things like that. But her whole career is based on the fact that she's trying to be her brother, or she's trying to be better than her brother, what he does, and that she's always been living in both of her brother's shadows, especially Sherlock's. And I think that's very like real and very relatable, and I feel like people do have that, especially when her brother's obviously significantly older than she is and like famous and, you know, world renowned. And I think they maybe did that because obviously in the books, like the original Arthur Conan Doyle books, they are just all about Sherlock. And he did mention that Sherlock has a younger sister, but I feel like nobody really knows that. She's always been overlooked, and they've kind of played with that in the film by having her as the main character, but she is trying to be Sherlock. But it kind of takes away from the feminine message, I think.
I think it definitely can be read like being a detective is actually like being a journalist. You know, and that her way is like she sees it as a male-dominated industry, detectives. She thinks that maybe she doesn't fit the mold, but actually due to her young looks and her ability to like basically be in disguise, it actually helps, so it's an asset. You know, her femininity is an asset, and I like that message. I think for me, what I do really like about the film is it's a well-constructed children's film, which is actually very difficult to do, as we all know. And then it does have the social issues, and I kind of I think because it is about like Sherlock's sister who's not in the books, I don't think there's any issue at all with any of the casting with like Moriarty and the racial casting, because at the beginning one of the orphans was like, they were clearly like stepsisters, you know, like sisters who found each other, and they were different races, and I think it's not realistic to learn, you know, it's never supposed to be realistic, but I kind of do like that. I think that kind of like steampunk style where you have it Victoriana and modern and progressive at the same time, I think it doesn't actually work for every single type of story. But I think finding Netflix, actually they should get credit here by actually going to Arthur Conan Doyle and finding something different about it. They've actually justified this kind of like more diverse universe.
I get what you're saying, because sometimes it's like, for example, Ghostbusters. It's like, now Ghostbusters are girls, and it's like you've just done that for the sake of it.
Yeah, it's lazy.
Whereas this is actually they've found something in the plot, a very successful book, and they've developed that character into a different franchise kind of thing. So I get what you're saying. Sometimes choosing a female character or a more diverse character is quite a, like Harry said, like quite a lazy choice. You know what I mean? Whereas, I don't know, one of you said it.
No, it's totally fine.
But like this is like you said, they've actually found the character and create this whole new storyline of it. So I definitely agree with you with that.
What does everyone think about Moriarty's casting at the end? We mentioned it earlier.
I I agree with the whole situation that they managed to like get like a black woman as the actor, and you also, I didn't expect it to be her, which is the whole point.
No.
But like, I guess because it's so different from the original books and from even when they did the BBC one with Benedict Cumberbatch, like it's very different of who Moriarty is. But in a way, I think it works better. Like, it makes more sense why she'd be so angry and why she would want to like get around everyone and things like that. So I think the big speech at the end was really good.
Yeah, but they definitely put her message across very well, and yeah, I'm really happy they went in that direction. I'm sure there's always going to be like people who are going to not like it, but I mean, just like ignore those people. Like it's got to get with times, and I'm happy that they've gone in this direction, and yeah, they've put that message across like very well of what she wanted to say, why she did it, and yeah, I thought it was very good.
Was there anything that disappointed you about the film?
Well, it's a weird one. Like, I had to very much do a lot of my own work, like whilst watching it, to not be a grumpy old man. You know what I mean? Because I was like, obviously, I was watching it and I was just like, you know, because it's very childish, and I was doing a lot of work to get past that. But like I was saying, and I was thinking about it whilst we were all talking, I was saying it actually made Millie Bobby Brown a lot more likeable for me. And I think how they did that was at the start, you know, there's all the different people coming into the shop, they take one look at a young girl, you're wasting my time, can I speak to your brother? And also the regular inclusion of her breaking the fourth wall and actually talking to the camera. You kind of develop a bit of a relationship with her, and you actually end up rooting for her, because everyone else is doubting her. No one really thinks that she's capable, and you're kind of on this journey with her because she keeps chatting to the camera.
Yeah.
So that I liked, like, and I think that's probably why subconsciously it kind of allowed me to like Millie Bobby Brown a bit more.
Why didn't you like her before? Just out of interest, I just like, why didn't you like her?
Because I'm a bit, I don't know, I'm just a bit, I think basically my ex-girlfriend, right, she hated her.
Right.
And I didn't really know much about her, and then she was like, oh my god, I hate Millie Bobby Brown so much, she's so annoying. And she used to show me like YouTube compilations of Millie Bobby Brown being annoying, where basically in interviews they'll be like interviewing the whole Stranger Things cast, and she's like the pick me. Yeah. Like, let's say they're interviewing one of the other characters, and she'd be like, oh yeah, I did that.
Right.
Me.
But it's not necessarily about her acting.
Her as a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, interesting. So, but then this film's managed to change that for you.
She's a very good actress.
Yeah.
She is a very good actress at such a young age as well, to like be the main character in a film that's, you know, I don't know how well it's doing on Netflix. I assume it's doing pretty well. Yeah. You know, at such a young age, you gotta take your hat off to her.
Definitely.
So yeah, I had to do a lot of work to kind of, because it's not my type of film. Yeah. I would never go out of my way to watch this film, which is why I had to kind of do a lot of work to keep an open mind. But I was pleasantly surprised.
I think something was the stunt casting of Superman as Sherlock that actually put me off the film before I watched the first one.
Really?
And that was probably one of the weakest elements of the film for me, was kind of Sherlock's character. I just don't think personally, I don't think the casting of Henry Cavill was good.
So do you not think that they kind of had to make his character weak though, because otherwise it had the danger of becoming a Sherlock film, like Harriet was saying before. I keep getting you two confused. One of you definitely said
we look very alike.
We do actually, yeah.
It was like, even though she is this strong woman character, she is still in the shadow of her brother. I think you said that before.
Yeah.
But like, I think that's probably maybe why they had to make the Sherlock character weak, because if they made, Sherlock comes in and he's this great character, then it would have taken
there's very much a dark side to Sherlock in the books, and in this, and I think in this they tried to like rectify it a bit, but he was so vanilla.
He's very vanilla.
I guess you have to think about the audience as well, though. Like, I'm not sure they can really have Sherlock doing opium.
Yeah, I find
in a children's film.
The Guy Ritchie films, there was it wasn't too dark.
Yeah,
but like the TV series.
I know what you mean, that they could have balanced like some of his dark depression sides as well as.
They kind of touch upon it though in his first scenes in the film. Like, he comes like out stumbling out the pub, and they try to like kind of make him out like he's kind of overwhelmed by his work, and as a result, he's becoming like an alcoholic. But they don't sort of lean into that for the rest of the film.
No, they didn't get it across as much at all. Really.
I thought that was bad acting. I was like, is he drunk or is he not drunk?
Yeah, true.
Is this a ruse? Is he in character and in disguise?
Yeah. It's glad you said that, because I forgot. I fully forgot.
But I think I agree with Arthur why they do that. It's because if they did lean into him having all these issues and these like mental health problems, which we know from the books and the other series and films, it's going to be a Sherlock film, and it's not meant to be. The whole point of it is not about that. Also, we don't know that Enola saw that side of him. So the film is meant to be from Enola's point of view, right? And Sherlock, as an older brother, would surely want to hide that side. So it's kind of like showing her naivety in the fact that we all know, I think the directors are playing on the fact that we all know Sherlock as a character. We know he had these issues. We know he was like this troubled, like brooding detective. I think they're playing on the fact that we know that, and they're actually not including that to show that Enola doesn't. So to her, Sherlock's this like heroic older brother, like father figure, like who she really wants to be like, and I feel like it would take away from who she is as a character if she knew all this stuff about Sherlock. And I think she does, as you say, she does realise it a lot more in this film, with the whole her helping him home when he's drunk, and like she goes into his flat at one point and it's an absolute mess. So I think she's slowly realising that, and it's showing like a mature, like a maturing of her like mindset.
It is partially about it's coded for children, but I do think is it too much to ask that we have Sherlock be intelligent and like come off as actually fiercely intelligent, because I actually think Millie Bobby Brown did a good job at coming off as like smarter than everyone else. She's definitely like a smart family and all that, and she came off as really good, because in Stranger Things her character struggles with English, is like, you know, it is smart in different ways, but in this one she's definitely like bright. And Sherlock's character, I found him quite stupid at sometimes, like a bit slow, and I think it was the vocal delivery of the lines. I think it was just the way he acted. To me it's just like he needs to like ooze smartness.
You
know,
he wasn't no Benedict Cumberbatch.
Acting.
He wasn't like seeing.
And it doesn't have to be he's the star of the show. I just want someone like Lucy Liu and also Johnny Lee Miller, you know, in Elementary. They both come across, even though it's I don't really like it, even though it's American, they both come across like from their acting, how they deliver a line as like intelligent, like they're educated people, they're bright, they're sharp, they're sharp
quite
detectives.
Generic, wasn't he?
I think they potentially maybe did that just to have him as more of a comedic character. But yeah, I agree that isn't who Sherlock's meant to be, as we know him as a character in society. He's not meant to be. Yeah, he's meant to be like this slightly socially awkward, like slightly strange character who's like abnormally clever. And I do think it was a strange casting, because obviously Henry Cavill was like quite attractive, famously attractive, and in the way he delivered his lines was more to be funny, I think, and that's kind of like not how we see Sherlock.
Johnny Lee Miller is an attractive, you know, like actor, and I do think like the oddball side of Sherlock as well. I think it's just, for me, it was just bad acting, and I think in a film where there's like an 18-year-old actress who's really pushing herself, and I think she improved from the first film. Do you know the side to cameras? In the first film she was a bit shaky, and I think the writing was clunky as well, but in the second film they kind of nailed that on the head, so I was actually quite proud of Millie for that. But I think that fact that she out-acted like Henry Cavill off the kind of, and I think everyone did, like David Lewis, I think Helena Bonham Carter. Do you know when she shows up, she was like life and soul of the film.
She commanded the scene, and she was very like lively. She's very good. I kind of disagree. I quite like Henry Cavill's role. Like, I don't think he's like the best Sherlock we've ever seen in our lives, but I quite like how he commanded the scenes, and to me he had that authority, and I don't know. I kind of disagree with you, but I don't know. He had a presence about him. I don't know what I'm like, not seeing about it, but but I quite like his role, I guess, and. I guess it is hard trying not to have the attention on him all the time and to make it more about Enola. But
I think they tried to downplay his role because of the fact he's such a star and he's so.
I'm in the middle of you two a little bit. Like I don't think he commanded the scene. Like for me, he was quite a forgettable character. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't think you can put that down to bad acting. I think that's directing.
Yeah.
I think that is how the director wanted Henry Cavill to be. I don't think that's him not giving enough. And like because he doesn't understand the role. I genuinely think the director said, look, you're not the star of the show here. Obviously it's based off Sherlock, so you've got to be in it, but the main focus is Millie Bobby Brown kind of thing.
I just think he was a big piece of furniture, and it's like he was quite slow, and I think it was like he was reading the script acting wise, which wouldn't be the director. To me it was like he was reading a script and everyone else was kind of like acting, and he was just kind of delivering lines.
I think the director, though, he's treading on eggshells a little bit here. Yeah. Because you've got so many people who are waiting to be triggered.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I wanted to watch a feminist film, and I wanted, and here you bring in Sherlock, and da da da. So I think the director's kind of treading on eggshells a bit here, because he's got to be really careful that Sherlock is a side piece. Because if Sherlock's not a side piece, then it takes away from Millie Bobby Brown's performance or these strong female characters. So I genuinely think that it was done deliberately by the director rather than Henry Cavill. I don't think it was Henry Cavill's fault that Sherlock.
His character came across weak.
Yeah,
I kind of have a similar opinion about Tewkesbury as well.
Yeah.
I thought his character was a bit plain in this
film.
Whereas in the first film, he was a bit more youthful and a bit more.
Yeah. I guess that just shows
I stopped watching when he came on. I'm not gonna lie. I just didn't really listen to anything that he said.
I guess it's showing how
he's like a lord at this point. Yeah,
but he is. Yeah.
But I don't know. That's kind of what went more for him. And plus, like his character building, like his what he's gone through now, like it's kind of like when he's being taught how to fight, it kind of felt a bit forced and a bit rough. Like it wasn't really given much attention, I guess.
I thought that scene was very cliche. Yeah. They always have like in these feminist films, it was like, oh yeah, the girl knows how to fight, and I'm going to teach a man how to fight. And, and it's like, which is good, but it is very much like we've seen this before.
Yeah.
We've seen like trying to teach a man how to fight, like.
Yeah.
Not all badass women know how to fight.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's part of her character, but I think that the Henry Cavill thing is interesting. I think I kind of agree with Arthur. I think it was mainly the direction, not necessarily the acting. And I think as well they probably just wanted a fresh take on Sherlock. Yeah. They wanted to show him as more human, more funny.
I just thought it was a boring fresh take.
Yeah,
he was boring. He was
forgettable.
No, I get it.
He was forgettable.
I think like at the top 5 things in the film, Sherlock's not in it. Or like the top 5
Probably
scenes.
not. No, probably not. But like we've been saying, I think that was done like to bring out the best.
It is. I do agree with that point.
But that's why I'm confused by the casting. Because like it's not his film, and I think obviously Henry Cavill is an actor we see as a very famous star, like very attractive, very like Superman, you know, the main character. So I think it was a very strange
publicity
like choice to have him.
I think he's quite forgettable in Superman though.
Yeah, that's why I don't rate him as an actor personally.
Right.
But
I did think about Superman. I don't really remember anything about him in Superman.
But
what does he do in Superman?
But I think the worst one was in the first film was like Sam Claflin as Mycroft.
Yeah.
I thought that was really badly cast because he didn't look older than Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of things with that. That's why I was happy he wasn't in this film for whatever reason. He wasn't in this film.
Yeah, not so
And I think the
much.
film was actually stronger because it was like not about him and Enola fighting.
Yeah.
Which I just found very tiresome.
In the first one, it was just like I don't want to see it. It was just like alright, I get it. It was very forgettable. But no, people seem to like Henry Cavill in The Witcher. I've not seen it personally, but people seem to quite like him in that, and they seem to.
Not sure it's based on his acting though.
No, that's cool.
Sorry.
I think my last question would be, what do you guys want for the third film? What would improve the third film for you?
I think breaking the fourth wall, the asides have got better.
Yeah.
I think it's like a big craze at the moment. It's a bit of a trend, like say Fleabag. It all stemmed from The Office. Like I can see why it's so like popular. But I think it's a very hard skill to do.
Yeah.
Very difficult from a director's point of view and an actor's point of view. And I think in the first film, I didn't like the way it was done. I think it was very much like, and so we're doing this. Like it was very like, and I know it's a jokey film, but I didn't. It wasn't as good as Fleabag, where it was like she's just like one look. It was very much a complete over the shoulder having a look, and I didn't think that was very good. And it did get better in the second film. I think they did it slightly less, slightly fewer times.
Changed,
I think maybe integrating that in, but in a more seamless manner, would be from a direction point of view would make it a bit better for me.
I think higher stakes would have made it better. I think this film was like very much this is a second film. It was a match plot. I think even just saying it was about matches just made it sound just like okay.
Maybe it was about the women, really.
Yeah, it was, but I just think the stakes were literally. I just found it wasn't like England was like in danger.
Yeah,
things were in
just
people,
a women's lives.
Women's lives were in danger.
Who cares? Back in the day,
it came to like this is going to be in our House of Lords Select Committee issue.
Yeah,
that was the end of the film. Like it was like that type. I think there needs to be higher kind of stakes.
I agree.
Like national security concerns. But
I like the stakes. I think young women's lives in Victorian era is a very important topic to be covering.
But that was all at the end of kind of the film. But I think the drama in the first film was actually a bit more high octane. It's more like the octane kind of level.
Okay, like the level of the drama.
Yeah, it was just higher. The stakes, everything, the drama.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of want more of the mother-daughter. I think Helena Bonham Carter.
She was really good.
And I wanted more of her because she's so good in like what film she's in. Like King's Speech, she's just so good. And I want like kind of more of that focus. I guess they kind of focused on that in the first film, but I kind of want her to be in a bit more, the mother to be in a bit more, and I kind of heard that for the third film.
I wouldn't mind if Moriarty, because she's a woman, aligns herself more with Enola than Sherlock. Because traditionally Sherlock and Moriarty are enemies. Yeah. So I kind of think with the whole because I actually did love the feminism. I do have to admit, I did think that was quite well done. But then I just thought the the whole match, I actually thought the actual like plot twist of the match was so boring. Like obviously she was not a redhead.
Yeah.
I thought that's so boring, and this concerns, and then they had the protest, which was good, but again it just didn't move me that much. I would love to actually see kind of Helena Bonham Carter's character be expanded, and we actually have her and Moriarty and Enola and things like Black and White as well. And I think the film for criticism of the film, it never plays with too much into who are the good guys, who are the bad guys. Except from this one, I see little glimmers of it with the police being bad.
So that police.
And so now I can't. I'd be excited to see if the roles are reversed and like Sherlock's perhaps working with the police and they're bad. Because I just think for a children's, it's like with Harry Potter when it gets more complicated, who's the good guys and bad guys and that kind of stuff. But I genuinely enjoyed it. So
I think anything we learned from watching both of the films this week is never trust a police officer.
I know, but isn't that current? It's like that is the times right now.
Yeah,
and they definitely, what I did like is they put Gen Z social issues historically, and they were faithful to the history. They weren't taking anything into liberties into that, but to integrate Gen Z social issues into Victorian dramas was well done to Netflix.